I'm going to give you a little secret. I don't think anybody ever put this out on YouTube any place. It's not well known at all. And in some circles, let me put it this way, feedback that I heard, I'm not going to say where, I'm not going to make any claims, but this is awful cheap to do. Feedback that I heard, in many cases, this will cure herpes. Both simplex 1, simplex 2, the bad kind, genitalial herpes, and all this other type of stuff. And I don't want to say that it works for sure, because then people will become more responsible and, you know, think they got a safety crutch, which I'm not 110% sure if this is always going to work every single time. But it seems to be that people who have tried this have written that it works. It works. Now, all she do. Now, the beauty of this is simplicity, cheap beyond cheap. All she need, these are just some alligator clips. And now what I have on the end, it's, in other words, it's just an alligator clip, just like it's connected to these terminals, right? What this is connected to is a piece of stainless steel that is wrapped in cloth, like a heavy denim cloth. It could be any kind of cloth. And the stainless steel is not exposed. It's just cloth. Now I wrapped some tape around it because I'm going to hold them over here. I don't want the electricity going through my hands. I want it going through where I'm applying this to. Now, also important, this cloth is soaked with either saline solution or tap water. Now, tap water, you can use tap water. You doesn't need to have like salt in the water, as long as it's not distilled water, because distilled water does not conduct electricity. So what you're going to do is you're going to electrify the point where the herpes is. Now, this, you can just using a 6-volt lantern battery. That's all this is. So in other words, you could buy a 6-volt lantern battery. You could buy a 6-volt lantern, take the battery out of it, try this out, buy a couple of alligator clip leads. And you could say it's quackery, but let me put it to you this way. I heard too much good feedback about this. Too much. This is dirt cheap. Basically, it's nothing. Because these leads are like, you know, you could buy a whole package of these things, like a dozen of them for like $5. You could, you know, a couple pieces of cloth. Now, you don't need to have these cloth in, inside I have a stainless steel insert in there, right? But you don't even need to do that. It just has to be some cloth. Like, in other words, you're not touching metal on your skin, because you'll feel like it might burn the skin. That's why you want the electricity going through some cloth, some thick denim cloth that is soaked in water, like tap water. And in the battery, it's an ordinary 6-volt battery. So what you would do is you would take, now in a case if the herpes is located on the lower part of the body, you want to take the one lead, it doesn't matter which, but usually they use a negative lead, apply it and hold it to the base of the spine. And you want to hold it by the insulation, because you don't want the electricity going through your hands. You want the electricity going through where it's applied at the base of the spine. And then the other one, like say for instance, you know, that was herpes or something, right? You would go around it like this while you're holding the other side on the base of the spine. Hold it there for about 15 seconds. Go around it. You have to do this when an outbreak occurs, okay? You can't do it when there's no outbreak. Now, the theory behind this is you hold it there for maybe 10-15 seconds. You do this for about 15 minutes. Do that a few times a day, and then the outbreak goes away. You may, in some cases, it doesn't come back. It maybe has to be treated a couple times. Now, if you have herpes around the head area, or like the lips or anything, the other side, this part that would normally be on the base of the spine, you'd be around the base of the neck, and then you would treat that other area the same way, going around the outbreak like this, not on top of it but around it. And see, the theory is you're electrifying that virus. What happens is, this is the theory, what happens is the virus will retreat along the nerve ending, which can be several feet long. So if you're applying some kind of medicine against that herpes, it gets it right at the outbreak, but then it just retreats into the nerve. But it has somewhere to go. It goes along that nerve. It doesn't go along the blood vessels. It doesn't go along like a bone or something like that, or the skin or anything. It follows the nerve. So if you're and this is very low voltage. I'm talking, 6 volts. It's not going to electrocute you, obviously. So I mean, nobody can say this is harmful. But you just do this for like maybe you hold it on there for about 15 seconds, and you lift it off while the other end is on the base of the spine. And if it's up around like the mouth area, you would use the one end around the outbreak by the mouth area, and the other end by the top of the neck, the bottom of the neck, excuse me, or the top of the spine. And in many cases, it's 1 or 2 treatments like this, and from feedback I heard, it's gone. Now, I don't want people to use this as a crutch because there isn't enough science behind it, but you could see the major problem that any money-orientated business would have with this, because I could tell you there's a few other things you can do with this thing too. It's amazing. But that's one thing that's listed by the established medical community that is totally incurable. Herpes, right? It's treatable. Well, if you want to give this a try, go ahead. If don't use it as a crutch. That's my advice. Don't use it as, hey, I know a cure for herpes. I don't know if this is a cure. I heard some damn good feedback about this. I'm just pointing out that this battery is very, very cheap. These leads are very, very cheap. You're gonna use some cloth wrapped around the electrodes. I made electrodes. You don't really have to get that fancy. And I use tapes because if I want to hold this area, you don't want to hold where it's conducting electricity through your finger. You want the electricity to go from the point of the herpes outbreak all along the nerve to the base of the spine, or if it's in the case the outbreak is up around the mouth, to the top of the spine or the base of the neck. So in other words, the herpes has no place to retreat. And this is enough to electrify a virus. Viruses are very, very weak outside the body. And that's why, theoretically, this microelectricity works. But this is real cheap stuff. Very cheap. Now, I want to caution around, you don't ever want to use, There's other ways you don't want to use this device, and that is through the brain. You definitely ever do not want to do that. So, what I'm saying, like if you're using it from a cold sore or something, a herpes cold sore, you would do from that spot to the base of the neck or the top of the spine. You don't go through the brain itself. DC through the brain is not good at all. So, putting a warning out there. But otherwise, you're definitely not going to get electrocuted with a 6-volt battery. It's very, very safe. And, people can experiment with this, comment back and see what the hell happened. But, hey, I've heard about this for a while now, and I figure I'm going to post it because, what I'm seeing is medical seems to be a major, major, major racket. So, I don't know. I mean, the way I look at it, there's plenty of money to be made in medical because, say for instance this works and it cuts out a lot of business for herpes medication. It's like gone. Let's assume it works, right? Well, guess what? There's always more business for medical because people want to live longer, people want to be stronger, people want to be more alert, they want to feel better. They want to live longer and be like 20 years old. So there's plenty of business out there. That's the way I look at it. It's like saying, hey, we got a better method that's going to kill our business. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's just like if we came up with free energy. Is that going to hurt the economy? It's going to hurt the oil companies' racket. That's all. That's all. So, but it doesn't hurt the economy because then people do more with that. It's just that the people who have an established racket have to start using their brains and find a new racket, So this is not a racket. So like say for instance this doesn't work for you, well, you got a battery for your lantern, okay?